something's boiling in hip-hop, and it's not just another social media argument. What started as a few harmless jokes from Mase and Cam'ron just turned into a full-blown firestorm, and the man at the center of it? Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, the guy who's seen things most people in the game wouldn't dare talk about.
Can't tell me nothing. That's why when be talking tough, I said, man, just say it. I done seen all that. Nigga said he want to just go home.
Oh, shit.
His blanket. He's like,
what are you there for security?
You're never going to be in this position.
I just want to go home and
I just want to be under my blanket. Oh, we got to get out of here. God, you get me out of here. I'm never fooling with these niggas.
When Gene talks, people listen, because his words come with history, danger, and truth. So when he jumped online and called out Mase and Cam directly, it wasn't for views, it was a warning. He wasn't laughing, he wasn't smiling, his message was simple: y'all playing with the wrong names.
Out here was gonna go out there and make videos.
I just want to go home. I just want to be home.
Mase, say names.
You're security crime behind the car.
People look at me as being bad boy security.
Yeah, this blanket. He's like, what?
Oh, Gene Deal was crying for the blanket. Gene Deal was this, that, and the. Gene Deal was this, that, and the third. What are you there for security? What you think I'm gonna be doing when you doing all that to Gene Deal? I bet you really don't want to know.
Fans were shocked. Nobody expected this kind of energy from Gene, but behind that calm voice was something deeper, something personal. The kind of energy that makes you realize the past doesn't stay buried forever, because what looked like old school jokes might have just reopened some of hip-hop's darkest wounds. And once Gene spoke, the internet caught fire. But that wasn't the whole story, because what he said next, it made even Mase and Cam go quiet. It all started with laughter, the kind that feels light on the surface but hits deep once you realize what's being said. On their viral show, It Is What It Is, Mase and Cam'ron were doing what they do best: clowning, cracking jokes, and keeping that Harlem energy alive. The two legends were reminiscing about the old school days, talking bad boy records, Diddy, contracts, and who really survived that era. They dropped names, laughed about the stories everybody whispers but never fully tells, and played it like comedy. But the thing about comedy is, sometimes it cuts too close. In one clip, Mase joked about the bad boy security days, teasing how some people back then were crying under blankets instead of holding things down. The crowd laughed. Cam joined in, tossing out one-liners about how scary the game was back then. They mentioned Gene Deal, not with respect, but like a punchline. To most viewers, it sounded like harmless banter, but to the ones who lived that history, it was a slap in the face.
Trying to picture your face reaction to I just want to go home.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
If my security holding me down in Cali, is somebody, the #1 rapper in the world, get killed, you're telling you, I just need to want to go home. And the second top artist in the world, which is Mase, about to be #1. That's what I'm saying. I wonder his face, because I'm like, if y'all let do that to Big, I don't stand a chance.
See, Gene wasn't some random bodyguard. He was there in the rooms, on the roads, standing next to artists when the spotlight turned dangerous. He's the guy who saw how fame could turn fatal, and how loyalty got tested in real time, so when he heard Mase and Cam laughing about it, it hit different. This wasn't just a joke. It was reopening an old wound. Fans immediately picked sides. Some said Mase and Cam were just doing their job, turning history into entertainment. Others said they went too far, mocking people who had lived through tragedy. Comments started flooding in. They don't know who they playing with. Gene's from that real era. You can't joke about that man's pain. Meanwhile, clips from the episode started spreading across social media. The more people watched, the worse it looked. Mase was laughing hard, wiping tears from his eyes while Cam leaned back like it was just another funny story. But the internet doesn't forget, and neither does Gene Deal. He saw the jokes, he saw the comments, and when he decided to respond, he didn't laugh, he didn't threaten. He just looked straight into the camera and said what needed to be said, because for him, those weren't stories, they were scars. And what came out of Gene next wasn't comedy. It was a warning, one that would shake the whole hip-hop world. When Gene Deal finally spoke, the energy shifted instantly. No jokes, no smiles, just a man who'd had enough of being turned into a meme. He went live that same night, eyes locked on the camera, voice steady but cold. "You think this is a game?" he said. "You playing with stories that got real people attached to them?"
Now the content creators who went out there and they started running off by their mouth, trying to make airways and trying to make a show. Here go a grown-ass man, Mase and Cam'ron, made suggestions to bad boy security. These clowns out here was gonna go out there and make videos. When you do stuff like that, you gotta know right now that people look at me as being bad boy security. You gotta be clear. As soon as that drop, you got 5 or 6 niggas out there. Oh, Gene Deal was crying for the blanket. Gene Deal was this, that, and the Gene Deal was this, that, and the third. You already know, Mase.
If you gonna say something, be man and motherfucking enough to name the name. When I tell a motherfucking story, Rex, I tell it with the name.
Everybody trying to go viral. Everybody trying to go viral. Everybody trying to go viral out here.
It wasn't anger. It was disappointment mixed with truth. For years, Gene had kept his distance, letting the new generation talk, but seeing Mase and Cam treat his memories like punchlines hit a nerve. He reminded everyone watching that he was there when things went left in LA, when lives were lost, and when people were scared to speak. Gene said, "While y'all cracking jokes, I was the one trying to keep people alive." The chat lit up immediately. Fans who grew up in the bad boy era dropped comments like, "He's not lying, and they better chill." Even younger viewers who didn't live through that time could feel it. This wasn't entertainment. This was pain resurfacing from a man who's seen too much. He started breaking it down piece by piece, how he'd protected artists, how he warned people before things went wrong, and how some ignored him. He told stories about those wild nights, the close calls, and the things he still can't unsee. And then he said the line that made everyone stop scrolling. "Mase, you better move careful. You don't know the kind of names you playing with." People didn't know if he meant that as a threat or a warning, but either way, it felt serious. His voice never raised, but every word carried weight. He wasn't chasing clout. He was reminding them that the streets don't forget.
When you doing all that stuff to Gene Deal, what do Gene Deal supposed to be doing while you doing all that? I bet you really don't want to know. What you think I'm going to be doing when you doing all that to Gene Deal? They can play if they want to, but if they know what I know, they better find somebody else to play with. I never had to tell Big them Keep it a buck. I never had to tell Big them I told Big to his face, if you go to this party tonight, one of y'all gonna die. Some people gonna die if you go to this party tonight.
Within hours, clips of his live stream flooded TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Titles popped up like "Gene Deal warns Mase and Cam," "Former Diddy bodyguard exposes secrets," and "The bad boy ghosts return." And that's exactly how it felt, like ghosts from the past were back, reminding everyone that hip-hop's golden age came with dark corners. Gene didn't name names beyond Mase and Cam, but he didn't have to. Everyone knew who he was referring to. It wasn't about clout or clicks, it was about respect for the dead, for the truth, and for what he lived through. And by the end of that live stream, one thing was clear. Gene Deal wasn't just talking, he was drawing a line in the sand. But that wasn't the end, because once the internet got involved, the story took on a life of its own. The second Gene's video hit the internet, chaos followed. Clips spread like wildfire, cut, clipped, and remixed across every platform. Some people swore he was just setting the record straight, while others said he was sending a message. Headlines popped up everywhere. Gene Deal issues chilling warning to Mase and Cam'ron, and is the bad boy era coming back to haunt hip-hop? Fans couldn't agree on what they'd just witnessed. Was Gene protecting the old code, or was this a veiled threat? Twitter and YouTube comments were split right down the middle. One user wrote, "He's warning them out of love. He's seen what happens when people play with powerful names." Another said, "Nah, that sounded like a man tired of being disrespected, and he's ready to remind folks who's who." The deeper people dug, the darker it got. Old interviews resurfaced. Gene talking about Biggie's last night, about Diddy's secrets, about how fame came with a price no one wanted to pay. Fans started connecting dots that maybe weren't supposed to be connected. Suddenly, this wasn't just about jokes anymore. It was about the ghosts of an industry that's never really been clean. Podcasters started dropping emergency episodes, analyzing every word Gene said. Reaction channels replayed his tone, slowed down his expressions, reading between the lines like detectives. Some said he looked hurt, others said he looked dangerous. Either way, nobody could ignore him. Meanwhile, Mase and Cam stayed quiet. No posts, no replies, just silence. And that silence spoke volumes. Fans flooded their pages, asking if they were okay, if they were gonna respond, or if they finally realized they went too far. And just when it seemed like things might calm down, Gene went live again. This time, he doubled down. "You can laugh if you want," he said, "but the streets got memories, and I still move with mine." That line sent chills through the chat. Thousands tuned in live, watching a man speak like he was pulling ghosts out the past. Was it fear, respect, or both? Nobody could tell, but everyone could feel it, because this wasn't entertainment anymore. It was history, reminding hip-hop that some stories aren't meant to be played with. But that wasn't the last word, because what came next made even the fearless ones pause before laughing again. By the next day, the internet wasn't just reacting, it was investigating. Fans turned into detectives, digging through old clips, interviews, and hidden files like they were chasing a mystery that had been buried for decades. And the deeper they went, the more eerie it got. People started connecting Gene's words to events from the past, moments that never made full sense, like the night Biggie was taken out in LA, or how certain people in Bad Boy's circle went silent right after. Some remembered how Gene once said, "The truth got bodies attached to it." Now, with this new outburst, that quote resurfaced, and it hit way harder.
So he was trying to divert that whole conversation and make it seem like, so Gene, why you didn't shoot? Listen to me. It wasn't because Big wasn't my principal. And he knew the fact that we had blew the light and we was halfway down the block, crossed the light, and then when the first shot went off, our driver took straight off. I'm screaming at our driver because he was told that somebody was pointing a gun at Big and them. He should have just threw the car in reverse. He knew the whole story, my man, because me and him had a conversation on the phone. He the one told me, well, I was in the room with Brandy and Brandy was trying to get me out the room to come to the party. So I felt that was kind of weird. So she said Brandy was calling me trying to get me out the room to come to the party. Well, you was in the room with Brandy. How's she calling you to try to get you out the room to come to the party? You know what I'm saying? This was going through my mind. But Mase knew the whole situation.
Viewers began posting old footage of Mase talking about why he left Bad Boy, how things got spooky, and how the contracts didn't match the promises. Suddenly, those old interviews didn't sound like complaints. They sounded like confessions. Then came Camron's name, and fans noticed how even he looked uneasy in recent episodes. His usual jokes landing a little flat. People commented, "You can see it in Cam's face. He knows Gene ain't playing."
Mase knew that it's no way possible that I was able, being sideways in the car, because Puff, when I got in the car, Puff had put his seat back. Now I'm sideways in the car like this, and I'm cussing him out like, yo, man, what the f is you doing? Why you got your seat back like this? We hear the shot, bow. Puff put his head down. I go to open the door. Kenny flies, going straight. So he knew the whole story. What I supposed to do? Put my gun out the window and just start shooting like this? When the car had already turned the corner, it came out of parking space. So he knew the story, bruh. He was trying to just divert the attention of, well, why security? So ask security, ask Big security, ask Paul, ask the LAPD. The LAPD officer that was right there, they was right behind. Paul was outside the car. Why didn't they shoot? Why when we turn back around and come down the street, that they way down the block, they coming back when we get back to the car. When we get back to the car, nobody's in Big's car. But Big, Mase knew this.
But the real shock came when fans replayed one chilling part of G's livestream. He said, "The people who talk about freeing souls usually end up losing theirs." That line stopped everyone cold. It didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like a man who'd seen what happens when truth meets power. Podcasters claimed Jane wasn't just talking about Mase and Cam, he was sending a message to everyone in hip-hop media. A reminder that not every story is meant for the spotlight. Old heads in the comments agreed, saying, "Y'all young dudes think this is YouTube beef, but that man's talking from survival." By now, even people who didn't believe in conspiracies started paying attention. The tone online had shifted from laughs to low-key fear. It felt like Gene had opened a door, one that some folks in the industry spent decades trying to keep shut. Every new clip he posted got millions of views within hours. Even big blogs that normally avoid drama began covering it. And the question hanging over everything was the same: what exactly does Gene know that makes him speak with that much conviction? Because one thing was certain, this wasn't about fame, clout, or clicks anymore. It was about truth, power, and the ghosts of the Bad Boy era that never really left. And the scariest part, Gene still wasn't finished talking. When Mase and Cam finally broke their silence, the internet froze. Fans expected anger, maybe even fear, but instead, they laughed. On their next episode of It Is What It Is, the two Harlem legends turned Gene Deal's warning into comedy. Cam leaned back in his chair, smirking. He said, "Man, Gene acting like we in a mob movie." The studio cracked up. Mase added, "If we gotta watch our backs for talking, I guess we more famous than we thought."
In a hotel with a young lady.
And when you heard this information, what was your next actions?
My next actions? After what?
When you heard Biggie died, did you stay in your hotel room? Did you leave out? Did you want to go back to New York?
I actually was trapped in a hotel.
Now I want to ask a question. What do you mean trapped?
It was about probably like 70 or so bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave my room.
How'd you get out?
One of the guys.
Why would it be 70 bloods in your hallway after Biggie Smalls died?
Actually, after Big got killed, they was probably looking for more Bad Boy artists. And I couldn't even leave the room till Gene Deal The officer had to come get me.
The crowd laughed, but viewers watching online didn't, because behind those smiles, something felt off. Mase and Cam'ron's laugh came a little late. Cam's eyes flickered to the camera like he was double-checking his words. Even their energy felt different, less wild, more cautious. Fans picked up on it immediately. One user wrote, "That laugh ain't real. You can feel the tension." Another said, "They joking now, but that warning got in their heads." For the first time, it is what it is. Didn't feel like a comedy show. The jokes were sharp, but the silence in between them hit harder. Cam tried to keep things light, but Mase's tone softened halfway through. He looked at the camera and said, "Ain't no disrespect. We just telling stories." That line right there told everyone. Gene's message landed, but instead of backing down, they doubled down on humor. Cam cracked another joke about being too old to beef with security guards, and the audience laughed again. Still, something about it felt like nervous laughter, the kind that fills the air when people don't know what's coming next. Later that night, clips from the episode flooded social media. Half the internet thought they were brave for not letting Gene scare them. The other half said they were hiding fear behind jokes. A top comment read, "They can laugh all they want, but Gene's words hit their spirit. You can see it." Even industry insiders started weighing in. One hip-hop blogger tweeted, "Cam and Mase might have laughed, but that was damage control. You don't mock a man like Gene unless you're nervous." It was clear their laughter wasn't killing the tension, it was fueling it, because Gene saw that episode too. And if there's one thing everyone learned about Gene Deal by now, it's that he never stays quiet for long. And sure enough, within hours, he went live again. This time, he wasn't laughing back. Gene Deal came back on live that same night. No jokes, no filters, just pure tension in the air. He looked straight into the camera, face tight, voice calm but cold. "You Harlem boys think this is entertainment?" he said. "You think cameras make you safe, but cameras don't save people. I've seen too many who thought they did." That line hit like thunder. The chat froze. Thousands of people tuned in within minutes, waiting for what came next. Gene wasn't ranting this time. He spoke slow, almost like he was trying to make sure every word stuck. He said, "I told Big not to go to that party. I told him one of y'all wasn't coming back. Y'all think I say this stuff for views? I say it because I lived it." The comments went insane. Fans typing chills, "This feels real. He's not playing." Then Gene dropped another bomb. "If you gonna speak on what happened back then, be ready to live with what comes out, because the truth don't come clean. It comes with consequences." People started saying it sounded less like a warning and more like prophecy. Others said it was a man haunted by memories the world never fully understood. What made it so chilling wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. No anger, no shouting, just a steady voice filled with something deeper. Exhaustion, maybe pain. At one point, he leaned closer to the camera and said, "Mase, you know I ain't lying. You was there. You seen what happened when certain people crossed that man." The second he said that man, the whole chat went silent. Everyone knew who he meant without him naming names. Podcasters started clipping that moment instantly, replaying it frame by frame like detectives. You could see it in his eyes. This wasn't about clout, it was about closure. He wasn't trying to start a beef. He was trying to stop history from repeating itself. Then came the final line, the one that sent chills through every viewer. "I ain't threatening nobody. I'm reminding them, because the same names they joke about still hold power, and the streets don't forget." The live ended right there. No outro, no goodbye, just a black screen. And in that silence, the internet lost its mind. Some said he was protecting them. Others swore he was warning them to stay quiet for good. But one thing everyone agreed on, Gene Deal wasn't talking for fun anymore. He was trying to make sure nobody else ends up another headline in hip-hop's unfinished story. And the scariest part, he said it like he already knew how it ends. After Gene's final live stream, everything changed. The jokes stopped, the clips slowed down, and that usual playful energy from It Is What It Is, gone. Cam and Mase still showed up to work, still cracked smiles, but the vibe was off, heavier. Fans noticed immediately. One comment went viral. "Bro, it's like they laughing with ghosts in the room." The tension wasn't just online anymore, it spread through the whole industry. Podcasters, insiders, even old school rappers started watching their words. Nobody wanted to be the next name Gene mentioned, because when Gene Deal speaks, it's not gossip, it's history with a pulse. And now, it felt like that history was waking up. Clips of his old interviews resurfaced everywhere. The ones about Biggie's final night, Diddy's rise, and the secrets behind Bad Boy's empire. People began connecting dots that probably weren't meant to be connected. Comments flooded in saying, "It's all adding up now, and this man been warning us for years." Theories started spreading, some claiming Gene was trying to protect Mase and Cam before things got dangerous, others saying he just reignited fires that powerful people wanted buried. Then came the silence. Mase stopped mentioning Diddy altogether. Cam avoided bringing up Gene's name completely. Their jokes got shorter, their tone quieter. The once loud and fearless duo started looking over their shoulders. Literally, even other rappers began speaking in codes online. A few veteran artists posted cryptic tweets like, "Some things ain't meant for laughs, and you can't clown what you don't understand." Fans caught on immediately. Everyone was treading carefully now. Behind the scenes, rumors started flying that producers from It Is What It Is were told to cut certain clips, avoid certain topics, and never mention those nights again. Some said it was out of fear. Others said it was out of respect. Either way, the atmosphere had shifted. This wasn't fun content anymore. It was cautionary content. The entertainment turned into reflection, because the line between storytelling and survival suddenly felt razor thin. By now, the internet wasn't asking if Gene was right, they were asking how much he really knows, and whether speaking his truth just reopened a chapter. Hip-hop thought it buried forever. But as heavy as the silence got, everyone knew it wouldn't last long, because when it comes to Gene Deal, silence never means peace. It usually means something even bigger is coming next. By the end of it all, one thing became clear. The ghosts of hip-hop's past never really left. They've just been waiting for someone bold enough, or maybe broken enough, to speak their names again. And when Gene Deal opened his mouth, it was like those old spirits started whispering through him. You could feel it. This wasn't about clout or even revenge. It was about unfinished business. A reminder that some stories in this game don't end, they just go quiet until the wrong person brings them back up. Fans still argue about whether Gene was protecting Mase and Cam'ron or warning them to fall back, but either way, the message hit home. There are still rules, unwritten ones about what you can say, who you can mock, and which names still hold weight in the shadows of this industry. And for all the jokes, all the laughs, the truth is, everyone felt that chill, because when Gene Deal said, "Move careful," it wasn't a threat, it was experience talking. It was pain talking. It was the voice of someone who's seen what happens when people forget that fame doesn't erase danger, it just hides it behind lights and cameras. So the next time someone thinks about turning those dark chapters into punchlines, they'll remember this moment. Because in hip-hop, the past isn't dead, it's just quiet. And sometimes, the silence says everything.